Look at that beautiful view. It's day 30, I think. And started about an hour and a half ago. And it's been walking through this gorgeous green meadows, rolling hills. We're at the edge of the National Forest, the Angeles National Forest, and been having these great views down into the desert. So I thought I'd make a little bit of a report on this nice little country road, it almost seems like. And I got about a 14-mile day, which is pretty much how I planned it, to get into Hiker Town and spend the night and then go out in the evening the next day. This part of the trail from Hiker Town north is always usually done at night because it's super hot if you're in the day. There's no shade of any kind, and you're walking on the LA aqueduct for a large part of it. So people tend to make it a party and head out, catch this awesome sunset hike, and stay cool. And here's a really nice desert view. I don't know if the camera will pick it up very well. All those mountains in the background. Yesterday was a pretty good day. The hike wasn't that hard until the end, you know, before about the 5 miles to camp, when it just felt like it became like this overly brutal uphill. I think maybe the problem wasn't so much the trails, that I just wasn't really prepared for it. But I felt like I didn't have a ton of energy for it either, so who knows. We did have a couple of really fun moments. I mean, I wound up actually walking an extra couple of miles yesterday. I went up to this old campground for lunch with a group I had met along the trail yesterday, and took a nice long siesta since I wasn't in a hurry. And along the way there was this, I guess there's this famous log that's full of bees. It's on the map. It's on the app that we use to look at. And one of the comments even says that the bees don't like paparazzi. But undeterred, I took a picture and then leaned in for another picture. And all of a sudden I had an angry bee on my ear. And I said, okay, all right, I'm leaving. And I started moving away, and he was still there. And I started walking really fast, and he was still there. And it's like angry buzzing right in my ear. And then I started trotting away, and he was still there. And I thought I was about to get stung, and I just flat out started sprinting. Full pack, everything in my hand. I'm running as fast as I can. I threw down my hat, threw my phone into it, threw down my poles, and then did this amazing unbuckle 360-degree pirouette and threw my pack down and kept running. And well, I didn't get stung, so it must have worked. I'm sure all the bees are laughing. We're laughing over that. came across two amazing snakes recently. One was not a rattlesnake, and I think I mentioned that before. But yesterday I have a bit of a cliffhanger video. I'm not sure if where I'm going to put that. Maybe right here. Came across this rattlesnake right on the edge of the trail. There was not really a way to go around him without getting into his striking distance, as I would call it. And he was an angry bugger. So I waited, I backed off, and I thought, I hope he moved. And another hiker came along, and we kind of stood there for a minute. And then we just decided we'd inch up and kind of have to crawl down into this little gully to get around him. And he got down in there, and the snake was coiled up, but didn't really bother anymore. And then I moved up to go. And just as I did that, the snake decided that I guess we weren't that much of a threat and decided to leave. But he was a big one. He was a big one. So, yeah. I got the approach to that on video, or I got it after he scared the Jesus out of me. But for those that don't know, rattlesnakes, when they coil up and start rattling, it's a defensive motion. It's not, I am about to attack you. That's not what it means. It just means I'm here and don't press your luck. So hearing a rattlesnake, even if it goes off like right in front of you, right next to you, whatever, it doesn't mean you're about to get bit. It just means, stop and back off or whatever. They don't really want to tangle with something as big as you, as big as a human. So they generally just won't do anything, unless you just keep barreling into them. So. Anyway, that was a fun experience. Wound up last night at a camp. I was all alone. A lot of the people that I met that day went past me. I think they wanted shorter miles into Hikertown, which is understandable, but I was kind of beat and I was not in a hurry. So I decided to camp at a little spot. And it was actually surrounded by this plant that we all know out here called poodle dog bush. Because I guess it looks like a bushy tail of a poodle. Anyway, whatever the reason it was called that, it's poisonous. So if you rub up against it, it's kind of, you get like a reaction like poison oak. But it was not close to the actual place where I slept. It was just on the perimeter of the campsite, so that was fine, as long as I didn't blunder into it in the middle of the night if I needed to get up. But I cowboy camped again, and nobody ever came around. I think everybody that was slower than me or wasn't going further had camped much earlier. So it was fun. It was actually very peaceful. I liked it. I had a good dinner. Mexicali rose, green chili, dehydrated refried beans with a bunch of Mountain House dehydrated chicken chunks and some milk powder thrown in. It's very good. I feel like I'm eating okay, but sometimes I think maybe I really need to eat more, actually. I think I'm starting to get to that point where I feel really hungry even after eating, or not that soon, not that long, sorry, after eating. So the inevitable hiker hunger starts to gnaw away at you, where you you eat, but you want to keep eating, or, you know. So it's always this delicate balance between how much food do you have to get to where you're going. And while people are pretty good at overpacking food, a lot of people overpack food in the beginning, and they don't have that hunger yet, and so they wind up carrying, as I did, a lot of food that you don't wind up eating by the time you get to the next resupply. So, but once this sort of hunger gets a hold of you, then the opposite becomes true. You want to like eat a lot, but you need enough food to get to where you're going too. So, and you don't want to carry too much because of the weight. So this is why people probably start to lose weight after a while. But I still have my powders and potions along with me, so I use them quite a bit. Well, it's really beautiful today. Nice temperature so far. I've been really getting up early. Yesterday morning I was out of camp at 5:45 in the morning. That was a record for me. And it was really my first 10 by 10, what they call 10 by 10, which means 10 miles by 10 a.m. I actually made a couple of extra stops and longer stops because that's when I met the people, so I think I actually ran over, but I was right there on the border, so I'm calling it my first. But I think these cool mornings are about to come to an abrupt end once we hit the desert. I don't know, maybe the morning will still be a little cool, but we're definitely entering a very hot section of the trail. Not only getting to Tehachapi, but then Tehachapi North is going to be a very hard few days to Kennedy Meadows South. It's something like 6 or something days through some very rough terrain with not a lot of water. So my Tehachapi resupply strategy is going to be focused on extremely light foods. So I think this is the point at which I will start eating the famous mashed potatoes and ramen combinations of things, which most people have been eating all the way along the trail, and I actually haven't. And I'm kind of glad for that because I'm not sick of them. I think I've only had one ramen package this whole, oh my gosh, 30 days. It's been a month, and I think I've had one, maybe two ramen packages. I've had no potatoes yet. And since I have a little package of powdered butter, I can really just sort of survive on those super light items for a week that it takes me to get there. So I'm hoping to offset some of the food, some of the food weight, because you have to carry so much water. And that's the strategy. Maybe no goodies on this part. Maybe some goodies. You can't starve yourself completely. So I think that's it. I think I'll do a report while in the midst of the aqueduct walk. It should be interesting. I hope there's a bunch of people there. So for now, I think that's it. Onward and, well, downward. Downward to the desert. Yeah.